Hayward here, as always, with my vice host, Jordan Brandis, and we're here this week to talk about the magnum opus of Kevin Smith, the best film of 2016, Yoga Hosers, ladies and gentlemen.
There's something very wrong with you if you thought that. You are a sad, strange little man, and you have my pity.
And I am indeed. But this movie, I love this movie. I live for these weird, just completely fucking out there movies with no sense of plot. It's just I love it. It's pure joy for me. But before we dive into that, we actually had a quick announcement. Kevin just recently launched on 420 his new fan club site, thatkevinsmithclub.com, which if you guys haven't heard about this yet, it's amazing. You're going to want to check it out. It's got tons and tons and tons of a lot of old stuff from the Kevin Smith archive, the Smarchive, if you will. There's lots of old press videos from all of the movies leading up to this point. There's all of the old Smodcast archive is on there, as well as all the old shows, Fat Man Beyond, Fat Man on Batman.
Well, even older than that, you were showing me like from the Mallrats premiere and stuff from like 1995. It's a deep dive.
Yeah, very deep dive stuff. They have a whole expose on the red carpet for Mallrats. It's a huge thing, like just a massive archive of stuff. Even some of his own home movies are on there, like where with a young Harley Quinn Smith and everything. It's really cool.
I'm sure she loves that.
Yeah, that's the first thing. But there's different tiers for pricing. If you go to thatkevinsmithclub.com, it's an amazing thing. As far as new content, there will be new content added pretty much daily. There's a new daily show that's on there now called Wake and Bake with Kev. So he just it's kind of a short little morning show that new episodes added daily. There's also going to be new episodes of Smodcast, all kinds of stuff coming, new shows, there's also a brand new documentary on there right now on the making of Jay and Silent Bob reboot. I watched it. It's great. You've seen me pop up a couple times. I was excited about that. But it's a great service.
Can we talk about how the tiers, how for some reason the highest tier is Yoga Hosers, and why that's just true, insane?
Yeah, bringing it back to Yoga Hosers. Yeah, the top tier there's 4 tiers. There's Clerk, which is the lowest, Mallrats, Fun Employee, and then the top tier, the highest paying tier is Yoga Hoser.
I don't know what reasoning he had with that. It should probably be flipped.
Yeah, I don't know, but it's I don't know. When I saw that, I just like grinned from ear to ear. I was like, man, he's so proud. That shows me he is so proud of this movie.
Okay. So let's get to the heart of this messed up movie.
So the plot, if there is a plot, is the two convenience store girls that we met from Tusk. Because they're both, ironically, both of them have the same first name, Colleen McKenzie and Colleen Collette, played by Harley Quinn Smith and Lily-Rose Depp. Basically, the movie's weird in a sense that it kind of starts off like Clerks with girls, but then all of a sudden things just take a really weird turn, and then another weird turn. And it
takes about 30 seconds to take a weird turn.
True. It's so basically the girls are just your average high school convenience store clerks that are suddenly visited in the night by these mysterious 1-foot-tall Nazis made out of bratwurst.
Nazis. Yes. What the fuck was he at when he thought of that? I like and I respect everything Kevin has ever done, but what the fuck?
Yeah, I mean, your guess is as good as mine.
And it's not like they're giant plot points. It's sort of like they're almost an afterthought that becomes this big plot point later on that isn't really there for 3/4 of the movie.
That's true. It's I don't know. It's really bizarre that they would go this route and to even. But the irony of the whole thing is there's a bit of history in this movie that's actually true. the Canadian Nazi movement that kind of ties in with everything. That was a legit real thing. I mean, the Brazzies aren't real, obviously, but
says you.
Yeah, but the Haley Joel Osment part, Adrian Arcand, that was a real guy that really did try to start a Nazi movement in Canada.
I mean, it was nice seeing Haley Joel, and he's always. I like the later work of Haley Joel, and he was great in the Kevin Smith movies, and it was a nice quasi sequel with Tusk. Seeing both him and Justin Long in here. I actually like, again, three episodes in a row. I like Justin Long's character. He's the one good part of this movie. The one part I don't hate is Justin Long.
Yeah, I got to agree there. He really shines. I mean, he steals every moment that he has in this movie. I mean, he's only there for just a little bit. He plays the yoga instructor Yogi Bear.
Yogi Bear, which is just great. Yeah.
Justin is just such a master, I think, of just really hamming it up and packing in all of these ad libs. I mean, because I know on the DVD there's a bonus feature where we get to see some outtakes of him just going, and he's really. I don't think he gets enough credit, honestly.
No, he doesn't. He should be a much bigger actor. He really should be.
He should, and he's a comic genius. I mean, good Lord, just the stuff that Zach and Mary alone.
And he's the one shining star in this whole thing. The rest of it. It's crazy because there is a good cast in here. There is a decently good cast.
Yeah,
I mean, you've got, I forget his name, from Hale, from Arrested Development is in here.
Yes. He's also,
and the one that plays his wife is the one from
Natasha Lyonne.
Natasha Lyonne. These are good people, But the movie is just so bad.
For me, it's like I guess the way that
because you're a super fan with this. Explain why this hyped you up. Explain why you're the super fan, because I legitimately don't get this. I've seen this movie twice, and it actually got worse the second time.
Yeah, it's just okay. So, I think part of it for me, at least, has to be this movie was made for people that listen to all of the episodes of Smodcast.
Okay.
There's a lot of. There's definitely, actually, not just this one, but Tusk as well. The whole True North trilogy is kind of it pulls a lot.
You keep calling it a trilogy.
Yeah. Moose Jaws is coming. Hopefully, Kev had gotten a phone call about it the other day. He put it on his Facebook Live. Fingers crossed about Moose Jaws. But back to Yoga Hosers. What does it for me is if you're a fan of just pure 80, this is kind of Kevin even said this himself. He and I think that's why I'm more receptive to it, because he kind of explains in all of his interviews about it, and then even the different podcasts where they talk about the making of it and everything. Because it's just he explains that he wanted to make a movie with his kid, and he wanted it to be kind of a 80s high school throwback, just the sort of movie. The way he explained it is he wanted it to be the sort of movie that you would find at the video store in the horror section, or like the just one of those really out there movies that you'd never heard of before, one that would get passed around amongst friends in high school and stuff. Like, he wanted this to be that kind of a movie, but at the same time he wanted it to be age appropriate for teenagers. That's why this one's a PG-13. Because he wanted,
and that may have been the problem. I think that's the problem, because all of those, the films he's talking about, all right, so I recently saw something called Tammy and the T-Rex, right? It's Denise Richards and Paul, I can't think of his name, from Fast and Furious, Paul Walker, in one of his very first roles.
Rest in peace.
And, he inhabits the body of an animatronic T-Rex, and it's surprisingly gory and campy as hell. But the gore kind of makes it stand out. That's what makes it a midnight movie. But if you turn to a PG-13, maybe it's just because like I'm watching it on like an HD TV. You could back me up. The effects are really, really bad, aren't they? Like there's one point where they're going through the convenience store and they've got their hockey pucks and they're whacking all the Nazis and they burst apart in the most CGI way ever. Like Birdemic bad CGI. Like clearly this was done in a different place at a different time. They inhabit different universes kind of CGI.
Yeah, it's the CGI effects are really not the best, I will admit.
If he was aiming for old school, I wish he'd gone physical. I wish he'd gone physical effects. It would have actually upped it a little bit. I would have gotten it a little bit more.
And I can definitely agree with that. It would make a lot. It would have made a lot more sense to go practical. I think a lot of that though may have had to be to like budget and time, but I mean, as far as excuse me, as far as the at the core of it all, they did include some practicality. And I mean, in the sense like at the big monster at the end that we see spoilers.
Oh yeah, and that was cool. I actually like that monster. That monster reminded me a lot of the monster reminded me a lot of those like Ninja Turtles 2 creatures. Like it sort of had that Rocksteady and Bebop feel to it. And I like that.
Yeah, definitely. That's how I felt. It's and the guy that they get to do that is incredible. Robert Kurtzman. He also designed the Walrus for Tusk, and he's also worked on some like crazy big movies too. I believe. What was it? I want to say T2. I think he had something to do with like the robot or something. I think so. I mean, he's worked on like
his
a bunch
designs are quality. It's just it almost seemed badly used. There's a Scott Pilgrim vibe to it, and it just didn't deliver. They're clearly going for the Scott Pilgrim vibe going through this whole film, and it just didn't deliver the same kind of thing. And here's the irony of all this. Like when we first meet the Colleens in Tusk, they're actually not that bad, but they become really annoying by yoga hosers.
Oh, come on.
Oh, they're just, I mean, come on.
They're adorable, man.
They're cute. I'm not going to argue with that. They're both very cute, but they're annoying and just generally not good people.
I mean, they're not that great. I mean, they're shitty teenagers, like they're like what?
Okay, all right, but when you got two people, balance them out a little bit. If they're both shitty, then it's not really good. But if one is shitty and one is good, all right, Jay and Silent Bob, right? Theoretically, Jay's the demon in this. He's more hardcore, whatever, and the sweet innocent one is Silent Bob, right?
True. Yeah, true.
So it's a balance.
Yeah, this one they're just both kind of just shitty teenagers. Don't really give a fuck. only worrying about themselves. But I don't know. It's just I feel like. I mean, their performances. I feel like, and this maybe is because I have a teenage sister, but I feel like I sort of could see, like why he chose to go this route and have them act this way, because this is totally how kids today act, with their face constantly on their phone, not giving a fuck about their job or anything. Like that, they just want to be kids. They want to have fun. And, I mean, I've been there too, we all have, but it's like, I feel like.
I mean, to their credit, the two Colleens are great. I mean, Harley and Johnny Depp's daughter, they were already best friends, so they've got great chemistry. And there's no problem there. It's just what they're given doesn't always work.
Yeah, it's. I will say there were definitely the first time I saw it, there were definitely a few moments where I was like, "Wait, what the fuck?" Like, especially once. I mean, I knew that the Bratzies were coming because I've heard Kevin talk about it so many times, and it's in the trailer and all that. So I knew that.
But actually seeing them.
Yeah, but actually seeing what happens when you stomp on one, how it just mushes sauerkraut everywhere, which I didn't even know it was sauerkraut until they actually tell us it's sauerkraut, because the CGI just looks kind of like a poof, like a sparkle.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. Unless they tell us, I'm not going to know.
Yeah, it doesn't really look like sauerkraut, but I mean, I don't know. It's
all right. So let's run the Bratzies thing. They're another annoying thing you just want to punch in the face a lot. I mean, like the only thing they say is Wunderbar and just random stereotypical German things. Like,
yeah. Well, a fun story about that, about the Bratzies originally, and I feel like had this happened, it may have been a bit more interesting. But originally, that part was to be played by Jason Mewes, and I feel like he may have brought something a little different to it. Maybe throw in
he probably would
J action.
Yeah.
Just some classic J action with those characters. But. Unfortunately, when they went to do it, Jay had he's had some like issues with claustrophobia, and I think the makeup was just too much for him to handle. So Kevin ended up doing it himself.
But that being said, I actually liked Jason Mewes' cameo. He was great. One thing that I think I can quote, like, "You're a goddamn Canadian Batman." Like that I like.
And that was actually his like that was his ad lib. Kevin didn't write that. Jay came up with that himself. And he begged Kevin for this part too. It was because he wasn't after he gave up the Bratzy part. Like there was really nothing left for him. So Kevin wrote him, just a couple lines as the cop that brings Gila Point to come in and
Are we going to go back to LaPointe? Can we talk about LaPointe again?
Yes, yeah, let's talk about Gila Point. Yes, his second appearance, triumphant return.
Oh, it was even worse this time. It was like if he was okay in the minimal uncredited part in Tusk, it's like nails on a chalkboard. Now he's like half the movie. I love that no one has any problem with him just hanging around this high school waiting for these two teenage girls to show up. Reading his own book.
Yeah, that seems a little weird how he's just kind of in the school library. But he met him first in the principal's office. So he was just there hanging around, hoping something happened that they would come into the principal's office. Who knows how long he was there? That's I never thought about that. That's true. But, it's I don't know. I know Kevin just let Johnny really just go completely off the rails with this one. Let him do whatever he wanted. There's even a lot of moments where every time there's a cut away from Guy Lapointe, and then when it goes back to him, the mole on his face is in a different spot every time.
I did notice that. That's sort of an Austin Powers type move.
Yeah.
All right. So here's the question: did you like LaPointe? Did you like Johnny Depp in this? I know you're a big fan of the movie, but did you like his performance in this specifically?
Oh yeah. Oh God, yes. It's amazing.
No. I mean, I hoped for you. I really did.
Amazing in the sense that it's funny. Like I was giggling the whole time he was on screen, just because it's so utterly ridiculous. That's the thing for me is like I'll see a movie that a lot of people would traditionally find bad, but it's just when the corniness, the cheesiness, the hamminess of this whole thing. So,
I won't argue with you there. That's actually, I mean, he definitely does that, and he does it well. It's just not funny. It's just not.
I don't know. I think it's pretty funny, but then
there are a couple parts. Fine. We're talking about like the nutsack in his face, and it's like Le Poop or something like that. Right, but we have to address a certain point, which, huh?
This is what happens when you publish the poop.
All right, so we have to talk about something that's been bothering me since I saw it again. I ain't noticed it the first time, but it's legit enough this time. This seems like Kevin's angry movie. This is Kevin's movie where he's tired of the critics getting on him, so he made a movie to get back at critics. And it feels like it's in bad taste. It just doesn't feel right. It feels all of his other films, except for Tusk, have some level of like heart to them, and you really feel like this is his love letter to being a fatherhood, or him working at religion, or him hanging out with his friends and having fun. But this is where it's got like a bad streak to it. The moral of the story is that critics are bad and evil people, and it's okay to kill them. I mean, I don't get it.
Yeah. I mean, you do kind of that scene is kind of where I don't want to say fell apart, but it kind of like kicked in me where I was like, you're going for this again, Kev? Come on, man. Like, because he's been pretty outspoken with some of his critics before. I mean, like especially with Mallrats, and then which is well received now, but at the time unfortunately wasn't. And then with the backlash for Cop Out, and then Tusk as well. Like he's been pretty vocal in the media about that.
He had a rough couple years. And that's understandable, but to make a movie dedicated to something like that still just feels wrong.
Yeah, and I mean, I feel like that. I mean, this may be the first time that he's like actually put it in a movie. His thoughts about critics, but I mean, so it's like I got where he was going, but at the same time, I thought it was, kind of funny that that's his little. I mean, I think because when he was making this, he had to have known that critics wouldn't like this, and he kind of did say that.
And that's what's the irony of this. Like, if he had put it into a much better film, I would have been maybe swayed a little bit more. Like, you're right, he's making really good films that are being passed up for like who the hell knows. I mean, he's never aiming for an Oscar, so I'm never going to put that on him for that. But I mean, like really solid films that are classics. Right, this is never going to be a classic. Like you and the View Askew community, probably the only people that really watch this film, near as I can tell. Yeah. Most people aren't even aware it exists.
For the most part, it was there for a little bit. Though I did see Kevin would always retweet him too whenever it happened. But there actually was some positive fan reaction from. From kind of the tween girl community when it went up on Netflix the first time. I don't think it's on Netflix anymore, but when it was, there would be parents that would tweet Kevin pictures of their daughters watching it, and Kevin would always retweet it with a message like, this is what I wanted to do with this movie. I wanted this to be for, the young girls. I wanted to make kind of my own like little girl superhero movie, with his daughter. And I think
there's shades of that. There's shades of that.
Yeah, and that's part of another reason why I kind of go into it, because like knowing Kevin as a person, loving Kevin as a person, and knowing what a great guy he is to Harley, and getting to see that's who he made the movie for. He wanted to make it for Harley with Harley. So
I could absolutely see that.
Yeah. So I feel
so we're going to take a short break and then come right back and dive a little bit deeper into the madness that is Yoga Hosers.
We'll be right back. And we are back with the highest grossing motion picture of 2016. This is not. Yoga Hosers.
All right. So speaking of that, where was this even playing? I know this played the very, very independent movies, and then I eventually saw it on Netflix.
Yeah, this did actually get it didn't get a very large release. I think in total, maybe the total was about 200 screens across the whole country. And I don't even know if it got a release overseas, theatrical or not, but I know over here it was maybe across 200 screens. It never played more than that at once, and I think it only ran for about a week. But
yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's and most of the theaters that did play it were kind of the more like art housey, independent. Although one of the times I saw it, I actually saw it 3 times in theaters.
You didn't learn your lesson after the first time. Okay.
I needed more. But one of the times I saw it was at a Cinemark, so it did hit a few multiplexes here and there.
Oh, okay. All right. So it did hit major theaters. Okay.
Yeah.
Because if I remember right, in LA, it was playing at like the Arena, which is almost like this hidden movie theater.
Yeah, it's like hidden in this little corner behind the Egyptian. It's kind of hard to find. But,
and you're right. I think we played there for about a week, and then it suddenly showed up like in swifter time than usual on my Netflix.
Yeah, it hit Netflix. I want to say maybe a month after or 2 months after.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really quick, and it hit DVD, but DVD within like weeks of it being in theaters. So it was all really quick to get it out there. But I mean,
it did seem like it established Kevin's new production model, his new release model. Very small, limited thing, and then mostly on video and on demand. That's where the core audience is.
Oh, big time. And I feel like he really, not to get off topic, but with the reboot tour, the recent Jay and Silent Bob reboot tour that he did, I feel like that was probably the best way for not only him to market his movies, but I feel like a lot of these, more independent or even, some comedies, dramas, the movies that aren't the big blockbuster superhero films, that are unfortunately kind of dying at the box office these days, I feel like, taking them out on the road like that and actually playing to an audience. So, not only do you get to jack up the ticket price a little bit because you have people from the movie there, but it's kind of, the sort of old school way to get your numbers up in terms of like, how like your average grosses per auditorium. I mean, if you're playing to a 1,500 seat theater with all those people paying at least $50 plus a ticket, that's going to put your numbers like way high in the range. That's why Reboot. Reboot got the had the a higher per auditorium average than Avengers Endgame last year. So which is crazy.
Due to some tricky math, yeah.
But to get back to Yoga Hosers, it's I feel like had something like that. He did tour with this briefly, but it was kind of a weird little tour. It was mostly to comedy clubs because he was doing that already, just touring with comedy clubs. But he I think it was for maybe like 4 or 5 cities. He did a little mini Yoga Hosers tour and had, he'd be in the bar and they would set up the screen and he would present Yoga Hosers.
And that seems like exactly his style. And I think it sort of works for this. It definitely fits that tone of the film.
Yeah, I think so too.
Because I gotta admit, if I was in a movie theater and I'm staring at just this, I'd be really disappointed. But if there's other stuff going on and this is on in the background, I don't think it'd be that bad.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean that, and then also I feel like it would kind of play a little bit more to that audience, just because if you already have a room full of drunk people, they're gonna have a lot more fun. So I feel
clearly like, the audience bar was high.
Yeah. So that's so I think that's where that's where it got its best reaction. But I don't know. I love this movie with all my heart. It's got a lot of some people that I've gotten to know pretty dearly, in it or were involved with it, and it's I don't know, and it's got some crazy cameos in it as well. Like not only
it does,
not only is Johnny Depp there, but this is actually the second film to feature, the second Kevin Smith film to feature cameo by Stan Lee, who we haven't seen in a Kevin movie since Mallrats. So
that's right, yeah. One of the things where I was just baffled. Like, did he read the script? Like, this is. I expected more from Stan Lee, but it was still nice to see him. It definitely elevated the movie in a direction I didn't expect it to take.
Yeah, every time I saw this 3 times in theaters. Each time, there was only an audience of maybe 7 people, but every time Stan popped up, it would always erupt in cheers. So everybody.
Well, good. Good.
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk about like the many subplots of this damn film, because it seems to go in like 4 or 5 different directions. Like I'm amazed going through it in my head. The introduction of the Bratzies, granted, that sort of brings everything, streamlines the whole story, but you have this whole subplot about like Canadian Satanists, And just like that seemed to come out of nowhere.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah,
yeah,
and it's almost forgot just as quickly. Like, oh yeah, one of my classmates is a serial killer that tried to kill me. I guess we won't talk about that again.
Yeah, that was a part of the movie that, I really did not see coming at all when they just kind of reveal the boys that they like are all of a sudden just these weird Satanists that want to sacrifice them. And it's like, wait, what did I miss? Like,
yeah, it felt like a chunk of the movie was missing. And then it veered to, and then tiny Kevin Smith went up one of their asses and popped up, and the whole tone changed.
Yeah, it's all of a sudden there's these weird little Nazis made of bratwurst that you don't understand why they're these Nazis just appearing, randomly attacking a convenience store. But it's later revealed that that a cryogenically frozen Nazi scientist was buried within the bowels of the A to Z convenience store.
Like you do.
Yeah.
But it's like, I don't know, he just kept throwing things at the wall. All right, let's talk about the cryogenically frozen scientist who loves doing impressions. What the fuck?
Played by the genius Ralph Garman, Kevin's co-host for Hollywood.
Genius in quotes, yes.
No,
if you're going to make him a Nazi, make him a Nazi. But he made him a Nazi that likes to impersonate Sylvester Stallone and Arnold Schwarzenegger and people I don't quite know.
Yeah, and that honestly, the reason that I love that is because that is actually a callback to the Hollywood Babylon podcast that he does with Kevin. His Ralph's impressions come up quite a bit during that show. A lot of people, they have a section where people can write in and request impressions from Ralph, and he'll do them. He has, his full roster, like the Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sylvester Stallone, Adam West, So it just, that's why that pops up in the movie. Kevin put that in there for him, but that role was actually.
So you bring up a problem I had with another movie recently, and it just sort of loops back to the same kind of problem. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, well, a well-made film. It was really made for about 100 people in L.A. It's made for the people that go to the New Beverly Cinema. That's the crowd it's made for. They're going to get every reference, every hidden thing. There are cameos in there that you only get if you go to the Bev. And
That's
to
true.
make a movie like that, mainstream, like Kevin's doing with Yoga Hosers, filled with things you only know if you listen to this one podcast. It just alienates so much of the audience.
It's true, yeah, and that does make sense, and that's why I don't really flip out when people dump on this movie, because I'm like, okay, I mean, if you're not someone that listens to like every single podcast or every single interview, or basically an unhealthy obsession, then you're not gonna totally identify with this. But that role was actually a funny story. That role was originally written for Michael Parks, who appeared, of course, in Red State and Tusk, and was originally supposed to appear as that. And before when it was to be played by Parks, it was meant to be kind of more of it was not going to be an impressionist thing. It was more
I highly doubt it would have been. I can't imagine him doing that at all.
No, from what Kevin said, I know unfortunately Parks couldn't do it because that was around the time he had started getting ill shortly before his passing. But his original take on it was that he was supposed to be this really eerie, creepy sort of if anybody's seen he compared it to Joel Grey in Cabaret, that how he plays that MC character that with the welcome in, just this really weird but when Ralph ended up doing it Ralph ended up stepping into the part, so Kevin completely rewrote it to fit Ralph's shtick in the podcast. So
you would have to. You would absolutely have to.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. The movie you're describing with these minor tweaks, like actually having Parks in there, having Jason Mewes in the monster role, using physical effects, stuff like that would make a completely different movie, would change the tone of the movie enough that I think it would work. I think the original version of this would actually probably work. but it's like we got all these like bargain bin choices instead, and they just still shot it, and it just doesn't work.
Yeah, in some ways, yeah, I can see where that would be an opinion, but
okay, all right. So think about it. Like Michael Parks, right? You've got this really great powerhouse of an actor. If you're going to replace him, why would Garmin be the first choice to replace him? It doesn't make any sense. They're not in the same ballpark. They're not remotely the same anything.
True. That is very true. But I think also at the same time, it was because the movie was made for, I think, maybe $4 million. So
all right, there we go.
Yeah.
Well, come on, keep in mind this is the age of video on demand, and like what Nicolas Cage, Bruce Willis, all that, they're all slumming it. They're all doing like John Cusack. They're all doing like a movie a week. I guarantee you could talk me into that. Not Bruce Willis, but anybody else.
I was going to say Bruce Willis would not come for this one.
Yeah. As I was saying it, I realized we can take Bruce Willis off the list.
Everyone else, sure, but not him.
Nicolas Cage would have been perfect. Can you imagine that? He's got the acting chops to go head-to-head with Park. He can be both eerie and campy at the same time.
Totally. And what's funny about that? I had heard a rumor that Cage was actually supposed to be in Reboot. Apparently, he was one of the people on the short list to play Cockknocker.
That'll be the one movie Nicolas Cage said no to.
Well, I mean, I don't know though, because Cage is actually a fan of Tusk. Because Kevin had interviewed him at Sundance for IMDb, and Cage, like at the very just tail end of the interview, Cage was like, "Hey man, were you here a couple of years ago with that Walrus movie?" And he was like, "Oh no, we did that at Toronto or wherever it was." And Cage is like, "That is a movie that really sat with me. I just wanted to congratulate you." That was, and you can just see Kevin's reaction, like, "What the fuck?"
Oh, he must have been beaming.
Yeah,
and that's exactly the kind of movie that I would see Nicolas Cage liking too.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And man, Nicolas Cage. No, he's somebody that we need to put in the Kevin Smith movie. He needs to be in Moose Jaws. He needs to play the movie. We need to put him in a suit and have him play the movie. Please, Kevin, if you're listening.
If you're gonna put him anywhere, that's perfect. Next to Crazy, Johnny Depp, Guy LaPointe, that movie I would watch. The Return of Guy LaPointe, Johnny Depp, who I hate, but if he's gonna interact with weird Kevin Smith, Nicolas Cage, I'm in.
Yeah, that's. Well, I do know that Guy LaPointe is in the script. I know Kevin has said that he's supposed to return. Apparently, for Moose Jaws, whenever that comes to fruition, hopefully it does. But apparently
2045, yeah.
Yeah, that's actually supposed to be the movie that interconnects all of the universes together. So because Jay and Silent Bob appear in that movie, and
all right, fine.
Yeah,
I will definitely watch that then.
Yeah, so it's, get to see Jay and Silent Bob take on the Moose. That's going to be really interesting.
So we have much more to discuss next week, and we really hope you'll join us. There's still so much more to talk about.
Oh yeah, totally. After this, we got to get into of course, Jay and Silent Bob reboot, and we haven't gotten to that by that point. But there's so much more content. There's going to be a lot of new content from that Kevin Smith Club. There's going to be just so much.
All of his TV shows, comic books. Oh yeah, he's done so much.
Oh yeah, Spoilers is coming back. Apparently, there's going to be a real life Chronicon coming up in the works. It's crazy. Movies is going to be coming up soon as well. It's just all crazy. A lot of cool stuff coming in the world of Kevin Smith.
Yeah. So we will see you next week. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having us, guys. Be sure to like, share, subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. This has been our Askewed View.